Some discussions may touch on legal and tax topics, but nothing contained in these episodes should be considered tax or legal advice. David and I are not accountants nor licensed attorneys. Please consult with your tax and legal professionals for advice on your own unique situations.
Hey, welcome to the Did It Close podcast. This is the Apartment After Hours where Bryan and I host Reid Bennett. So welcome, Reid, again.
Hey, good to be on with you guys.
Do you think he was staying up
absolutely.
last night practicing that intro?
I think you did.
Yeah,
you did.
I did it I recorded it a few times.
Used AI to figure that one out.
Well, that was really AI that did it. You guys just
Nice.
didn't know it.
Yeah.
AI
So
is
boys,
getting-
we're coming off, we're what, the Tuesday after Labor Day weekend here. So as we go into September. So what do you guys, what are we seeing in the market?
I can't believe it's already Labor Day.
Yeah.
This year's kind of flown by, which is good. It's been
Reid didn't get the memo. He's not
usual.
supposed to wear white.
You're not? Just wash you out?
It's after Labor Day, buddy. It's
This
after
is
Labor
pink.
Day.
This is pink.
Hey, this is pink too.
Yeah.
You can't really tell them both pink. Mine looks kind of peach on here, but it is.
I was in Sand Valley golfing last week, and I'm an Irish, so my skin is pink. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm clear.
So what's that weather like up there? I've only been to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. It was in the middle of winter.
It was nice. It was 71 degrees as a high, 71, 72 degrees. We had crystal clear skies, except for the last day we got rain. So it rained the last day.
Other than the rain, it'd be nice weather.
Yeah, it was beautiful. The night was a little chilly. We all had quarter zips on. We stopped at Erin Hills. I'm wearing my quarter zip from Erin Hills and played that on the way in. So it was nice.
Good trip.
But anyways, this isn't a golfing podcast, and my golf game, we wouldn't make it very far on a golfing podcast. So.
I actually golfed this weekend. I hadn't golfed in a couple of years. I'm definitely not a golfer. I usually do scrambles, but my niece got married, and so we did a bachelor party the day before for her husband, or now husband, and started off with golfing. I actually did a lot better than I thought.
See, it's the only thing to do is do it once every 1 or 2 years, and then you're loose because you don't care.
Well,
Yeah.
what's funny too is and my brothers and everybody that were there could confirm this, is I wasn't playing the greatest. I wasn't horrible, but I wasn't playing the greatest. And then this guy playing behind us literally started yelling at us, and I got upset back. And then after that, I started playing really good. It was like I got mad, and then I started crushing the ball.
That's all you need.
So, yeah, I just need somebody playing the hole behind me and yelling at me the whole time.
Do you need a little anger, Dirk? Is that kind of a little anger to get you fired up?
Because then, I started crushing them. I really did.
Reid, you much of a golfer?
No. I live
No?
on
No
a golf
don't
course,
take
but I don't
clients?
golf at all. What's that?
I said no taking clients golfing, etc.
Occasionally. I have my business partner does all the golfing. He's pretty damn good. So I'd have him go on the golfing trips, and I try not to go on any trips. And MHC would be the only one this year.
You just got to find other things to take clients to do.
Yeah.
Right. Do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the top. I like the
hunting.
top golf where you're sitting there, just kind of hanging out. You can leave whenever you want.
Yeah, kind of shoot the shit. You're not stuck. Like if you get out to hole 8, you're kind of stuck for another 10.
You're like, this
Yeah.
sucks. You're
This guy's not any
it's like
fun.
being on a boat. You're not coming
Yeah,
back
I've done
in.
that. I've taken a client out on rented a yacht down in the Gulf of Mexico, and
I saw that
and
video.
went out. Yeah,
Yeah.
but luckily he was fun. It was a good trip.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you get out there and you don't enjoy the person, I guess you're kind of stuck.
Yep.
So
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
do river cruises up here in Chicago through the city. That's probably I love doing that. Have you guys ever been on the
Like in
river?
February.
What's that?
In February.
No.
Yeah.
No. No.
I did,
May through September.
the coolest river
would be
cruise I ever did. Actually, we cruised down the Nile in Egypt.
Oh, nice.
We went to Aswan and sailed down to Luxor. That was awesome.
Which company did you use for that? Because we just booked the Danube cruise.
Oberoi, I think it's called.
Rhone. What's that? Oberoi?
Oberoi. Yeah, they were amazing. I mean, it was. I think there was 13 passengers on the boat, 13 or 14 passengers on the boat, and it was like a crew of like 45. It was like, I mean,
What'd that cost?
No, that's a hell of
It
a
was-
ratio right there.
I know.
My best friend, he was actually stationed in Cairo at the embassy, and they had a discount. It wasn't expensive. It was actually pretty cheap when you talk about the conversion rate or something. Like it wasn't much. And
So how long
it-
did you stay on the boat for like that? I mean,
I think we were on it for 4 or 5 nights. I'm trying to remember. And like, they sailed and like we went to all the sites, right? So we saw all the ruins, all the, the old grave sites, the Valley of the Kings. We did all
Pyramids.
those things, and it was great. They had it all arranged for us. Like, we'd get off the boat, and then they brought fresh food on every night, and that's what the dinner was, is whatever fresh food that they pulled on. It was excellent.
that'd be cool.
I mean,
I've never even thought about a river cruise like that. That'd be a lot of fun.
We just booked a cruise. We're going on for our 50th.
where are you going?
We're gonna go from Switzerland to Amsterdam.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool, too.
I did last year for my wife's 40th. We did a catamaran around British Virgin Islands.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was solid. We were there for 5 nights. So we did a surprise. Funny story, right? So I booked this like last November, or like the November before. Like her birthday's in August. Book it the November before. Surprise, right? Don't tell her where we're going. Whatever. Like I'm gonna have 3 other couples meet us on the boat. Like
You're
surprise
bold,
party.
man.
Yeah, well, I was more bold when I find out that in December we find out that we were expecting our second, and so she was 8 months pregnant when we went on.
Oh damn!
It was a
I'm surprised she
slightly
went 8
different.
months.
It was a slightly different trip. I had to have a conversation. I told her doctor, I was like, so this is supposed to be a surprise. Are we good? She's like, you're good. She's like, you'll be fine. So I was
She's
like,
drinking for 2.
yeah, exactly. I had to drink all the rations. Yeah. So,
Wow.
I'm
but it was
surprised 8
great.
months. I'm surprised she went on a cruise.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't know where she was going.
Oh, wow.
I told her it was like I didn't tell her where we were going. We flew into St. Thomas, and then I told her we were jumping on a boat to do a sightseeing tour, and the other 3 couples jumped out and surprised her. And I was like, "We're on this boat for
Sightseeing
5
tour,
days."
but you brought your suitcases with you.
Right.
Well, yeah, I said we were going to another place, and we had to bring them with
Yeah,
us. So like we had our bag. I was like, we got to carry them because we're going to go to a different hotel tonight when we get in. And then so we kind of brought it in, but
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's cool though.
That's
it was
awesome.
fun. Well, so far we've talked 0 about
That's it.
apartments, but yeah. So
What kind of apartments are selling for you guys in your markets?
I was gonna say, what are you guys seeing in the market? So
I mean, we're like, for us, like stuff that's clean and not having a lot of hair is what's working. Stuff that's got hair has just been hard. I mean, hard to get offers, hard to get tours, hard to get, I mean, unless it's just a really good deal. The clean stuff's going. I mean, that's easy. I mean, there's still a ton of buyers lined up for it if it's financeable, especially if it's agency financeable.
Yeah.
have you guys done much?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Reid.
I was gonna say, why are the sellers selling clean deals right now? We have a lot of guys that they're like, why would I sell? I'm raising my rents 150 on the renewals. Why would I sell? Why would I take today's offers?
And that's a great question because most people are saying that, but the ones that we've done, they've had a reason, right? Like a loan was due.
Yeah.
They'd owned it for 10, 15 years. The guy owned it 20 years. And so their basis in it, I mean, they're like, look, I mean, it's not the top of the market, but I'm fine with what I'm getting out of it. And but my argument to that always is this too. If you sell at the peak, you're buying at the peak, right? If you're exchanging, assuming most are. And so, people, whenever the market's hot, they're like, oh, I wouldn't pay these crazy prices. Well, you're going to sell at those crazy prices, just like when it's low. It's like it's really a net, zero difference. I mean, if you're selling when it's low, you're going to buy better deals. So, I mean, it'd be different if you were buying when it's low or buying when it's high and selling when it's low.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's my thought on it.
What metrics are you guys seeing out there in the market? Like what are buyers trying to solve for on your deals?
Like cap rate return kind of stuff.
Cap rate, internal rate of return. We're solving more and more to internal rate of return on our deals. Just kind of curious on what you guys are seeing.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing more like, cap rate and cash on cash. I mean, IRR would put it in there. I think it's the best way, but it's so subjective. But cash on cash, like double digit, low to mid or low double digit, and cap rate. Yeah, it's starting to see now. I mean, like for workforce housing type stuff, high sixes. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's equal to the debt then.
Well, we had a debt quote the other day, like under 5.
Oh, really?
We had a 5.3.
It's like 4.9
5.3 on agency
4.
with 0 buy down, and if you want to go 55% or less with Lifeco, they can get under 5, or you can do a buy down on agency right now and get to low 5s.
Just had a buy down.
We in workforce we have nobody wanting to do 55% leverage.
No, it's hard, but you can probably get. I mean, you can so can't you get agency financing? Read on the workforce at
sure.
I mean, we're seeing 5-year money right now. 5-year note, full term IO, 5.3 was our quote. I think as of today. So
is that 65%?
Yeah, so it's DSCR constrained.
I was about to say it could be higher.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
no, we've seen some good loan quotes recently that I mean kind of surprised me. That's why I think it's a great time to buy. I mean, like I've looked at some deals. I mean, so the last probably 7 years, everything I've looked at, I'm like, man, I just wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't buy that. And I mean, just because I was, I've seen deals for so long that they didn't make sense. And now I'm starting to see deals and I'm like, I would be interested in that. And so I might look at, I mean, I've been talking with some of my partners about it. Like, man, we should get into some deals now.
Yeah. Well, I think the just the prospect of lower interest rates, everybody's kind of banking on those coming around the corner. I don't know how real that is, but between that and the 100% bonus depreciation being locked back in, it's kind of gotten people a little more excited to get back in, even with all of the uncertainty that's still swirling around like a tornado.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean, think if we had kind of more solid ground and solid footing just in the economic environment, I think it would be like a 21, 22 style, without the 3% rates.
Well, we're seeing the deals that are not trading right now. We're seeing the owners put floating rate debt.
Yeah.
Because they plan on bringing it back out in 1 year to 18 months.
Yeah.
So which is insane. Like when they have to refinance, I mean, they're in a position they need to get them a lot shorter term, debt and just know, hey, this is just a Band-Aid. I'm buying a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Where we're seeing a lot of, the bid-ask spread, right? Especially on merchant built product. We're seeing, buyers want to come in and buy at replacement cost. Well, merchant builders like, well, that's my entire profit, right? Why would I do that? Unless I built and locked it in my super low basis, 3 years ago before construction pricing went up.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why that, and they're buying off replacement costs today. Maybe there's a transaction. If not, everybody seems to be hitting the pause button and saying, hey, we'll refi, we'll go 18 months out, right? We'll lock it up. We'll basically, we'll put maybe agency or Lifeco that has a 12-month lockout period. And then after that, we'll float it and then sell in 1 year to 18 months out. So I think we're seeing more and more of that. And I think you guys hit the nail on the head is every buyer is trying to find a reason to not do a deal.
Yeah.
So if it has even a little bit of a, negative lease trade out, any little thing, it's just like they're using that just to needle it and beat it up.
Yep.
And
that's been the difficulty is keeping deals alive. Like there's just been a lot of, once it's in escrow, a lot of nitpicking, this or that. And I mean, and if you work hard, I mean, you usually keep them together, but it's a lot harder to keep deals together right now than it was a year or two ago.
This is actually, I think this is a great point because this has come up a lot recently. I really kind of like to view yours on it is when you're representing, right, a seller, and obviously we pretty much just represent the sellers, and you have a deal and it starts going sideways, right? What type of tack do you take with the buyer, right? Like how aggressive do you get? How aggressive are you kind of pushing? Like what are the ways that, to your point, Dirk, how do you try to keep that deal together, when the buyer's starting to push back hard on different things?
See, like in Oklahoma, we're what's called a transactional broker. So we don't represent the buyer or the seller, like it's not a single party state. And so we have to treat all sides equally, right? That's the definition of the law. Now you can do
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean
that's just straight that's straight dual agency, like forced dual agency.
Well, it's
right.
No, I mean you can have a buyer, you can have different brokers, but what I'm saying is you have to if there's two people involved, it's just treat it both sides equally. But and on apartments, there's rarely ever like two brokers, right? I mean,
sure.
Like,
same.
yes, do we? And I tell people all the time, we represent sellers.
Yeah.
We exclusively list properties, and our job is to sell it for the highest and most money. Period. I mean, that's what it is. So, like in that situation, I mean, I think one, I mean, you're trying to keep the deal together, but at the end of the day, you're representing the seller, and so you're trying to protect the seller's best interests. Again,
Sure.
If you're representing just the seller. On ours, I mean, we're just trying to keep the deal together and try to make both sides happy and treat all parties equally. And I think, and at the end of the day, I think that's pretty easy to do. I mean, because you almost act like a mediator. You're looking at it like, all right, I see your side right here.
Yeah.
I see your side right here. Let's talk about it. Let's work together. I have, my personality. I sometimes can be a little. I'm just direct. I guess that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm very direct. And if somebody's doing something that's dumb, I mean, I'm going to tell them like, hey, that's ridiculous. Like, look at it like this. Logically speaking, does that make sense? And usually I think when you're very direct and you look at it like, hey, I'm a mediator in this situation. How can I make both sides happy and work?
Yeah.
It usually works out.
I mean,
Of course, not always.
I think the best thing to do is just monetize it immediately. What's the problem? And let's monetize it. Rather than, I mean, we have guys who are like, oh, look at the roofs. Okay. What part of the roofs? What is it going to cost? Are you going to have to re-roof the whole thing? Are there just certain areas? And then also, I mean, we just had a deal that we had to negotiate. It was a month-long laundry lease negotiation because the buyer wrote it into the contract that the seller will either remove all of the laundry equipment or cancel the contract or take on all liability of the laundry equipment.
And you know how those leases
are. They're
like
mafia. They're straight up mafia.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it was written into I've never seen it written into the contract.
I haven't either. I don't know why anybody would sign that.
Day one, because they knew, I think the sellers just thought they could cancel it and didn't think about it,
So what happened?
So it ended up having to extend a couple times and almost blew the deal. And then the buyer had a better relationship with the laundry company, and the buyer negotiated the split.
I mean, were they buying the entity?
No, they're buying the
but
buildings.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, if they're buying the buildings and there's nothing left in the entity, how can the laundry company even enforce it?
Well, because they
would go to the new buyer. They'd go to the property.
Yeah.
They'd lien the property.
But there's no privity of contract. It doesn't run with the property. It runs with the contract.
The way these guys sign the way they sign these laundry leases, and then they also give them like signing bonuses that lock that in.
Well, and it's like if somebody has an easement on your property, I mean, it's essentially the same as that.
Yeah, but an easement runs with a deed.
Record.
I mean, a contract services. Yeah, but contract services, I mean, we deal with like this a lot because we sell entities a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, like trash collection, another one, right? Like big, like that's one that we have here. If you sell the entity, yes, the contract is still enforceable because you're buying everything and all the contracts and associated liabilities. But if you just sell the building, unless that's actually like it's not a pursuant to the property. I mean, obviously. This is not legal advice, so please consult your local attorneys. But like it's just interesting is like that's the one thing is like if you just buy the buildings and you're not buying the entity, the contract is with the entities, not with the building.
Yep.
But obviously,
unless they file it of record, if they file it and it goes with the property, like I mean it's just like an easement. I mean if they file it and the seller signs it, I mean it's almost like a deed restriction basically, and it goes with the property and you cannot cancel it.
Are they recording it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. and it's
Really?
it's filed, and
laundry?
yeah, I mean, it has been litigated
Brutal.
backwards and forwards, and I mean, it is really hard to get out of.
Wow, I had no idea. I mean, I ran into a trash contract here when they were looking to buy the entity, so we ended up dropping it in, to a clean entity to kind of like clean out any of the contracts. But I'd never seen it actually be recorded and run with the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, usually the laundry lease, you have to a lot of them are 10 years on the deals that we've worked.
And yeah,
And
I know what you're
there's
about to
like
say.
a 30-day window prior to the end of the expiration where you have to send a letter to the main office, not the regional, not your rep, and then they never get it.
It has
So
to be
then
on the
it auto
third
renews
Tuesday
for
of the
10
3
years.
months prior to the expiration,
Right.
within 72 hours. Otherwise, it automatically extends for another 10
Yeah.
years.
But only if you're wearing a salmon shirt on Wednesdays.
That's
can you
it,
send
man.
It's like-
Yes.
It's crazy to where, like, we've gotten to the point where when we sell a property, we look up the laundry contract and kind of let people know, like, hey, this is when you need to notify if you don't want this.
100%.
I had sold a property recently, and I thought this was creative how they did it. Instead of doing the normal contract with the laundry company, they did it where they pay the laundry company essentially a flat rate per, washer, dryer, whatever, and then the owner collects all the money, and then the laundry company is responsible for maintaining them. And it was through the normal laundry company, and I was like, that's a great idea, because then you're not having to maintain it, but you're collecting the money. You're responsible for collections and accounting and all that. You're just paying a flat fee per machine.
I like that better.
Because there's a lot of money. A lot of people don't know. There's a lot of money in the laundry, in having a laundry room, if you can affordably maintain the equipment.
Yep.
That's the hard part. If you've got to call like a appliance repairman every time something breaks down, it gets expensive.
Yeah.
But if you can maintain it affordably, you can make a lot of extra cash. I had one client, I won't say his name. It was his lunch money. I mean, he had buckets and buckets. I took about 5-gallon buckets of quarters. Now, of course, they're not quarter machines anymore. Now they're cards. But I mean, he had thousands and thousands of dollars in quarters.
Yeah. I had a client on the south side of Chicago that when they changed over at the banks to charging to wrap the quarters and give you cash, he was like, screw that. And he started dumping them. He had 2 deep freezers full of quarters that he just didn't know anything. I mean, how many dollars is a deep freezer full of quarters?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with that?
And then
he's
he's like, screw them. I'm not paying whatever the 2 cents a dollar fee. I'm going to keep it in that deep freezer. I was like, oh yeah, okay, you're winning.
A lot of banks too, if you go in and you if you put the quarters in a machine, if you go over a certain amount, then they basically some banks make you, if you exchange quarters, they make you balance or put it into your account even if you pull it out or not. And then some charge a fee, and then some have to report it if it's over a certain amount. So it's difficult getting rid of quarters.
Yeah.
We've had these conversations especially with the one owner that had all those quarters.
I think at a gentleman's club, it's called making it rain.
Yeah.
I think
Or
that's
hail.
called making it hail.
Max to go there and handful.
Here you go. You're like shoveling it off on a.
Is that your plan for NMHC? Oh, you don't golf, so that's your plan
That's
at
my
NMHC.
plan. That is my plan.
Make it hell.
You will last a good 13 seconds in one of those places with that.
Yeah, you would.
There's a comment there, and I'm not even touching that.
There's a whole different direction this one could go.
It's After Hours is getting a bad rating on Spotify.
There's the NC-17.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of them.
What percentage of buildings do you guys see in your markets that are still having laundry rooms?
Oh, well, most of them.
Really?
I mean, when
I say older, that's what
I was gonna say, like pre-1999 or something,
Yeah, they all do. Now, 90s and newer, I mean, they all have, washer dryer connections or washer dryers. And a lot of even, I mean, what we've seen is the biggest value add you can do on a property is if they don't have washer and dryer connections in the unit, is adding them.
Yeah.
I mean, because at least here, if you add a washer dryer connection, you can get usually $50, sometimes even $100 more per unit just for the connection. If you have a washer and dryer, then you can get 100 to 200, depends. Probably 150, maybe it's more. But I mean, if you can go in and think about that, if you can go in and install that for less than $1,000, you paid for it yourself in a year. I mean, your return is incredible. And most times it's less than $1,000. I mean, a lot of them I've seen they're doing it for, $400, $500.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would agree with you on that. Is most of there's still a few that we see out there, but most of them are converted. I mean, we're even seeing people put the all-in-one machines in, which are horrible.
Yeah, like underneath the counter of the kitchen, right?
Right. Yeah, it's a washer.
Worse.
It turns into a washer or dryer. It's horrible,
Worse.
right? It breaks down all the time.
Have you seen any units where you go in and they have the tenant added their own washing machine by themselves, and it's basically in the dining room? When they have the dining rooms, it's attached to the kitchen, and it's basically the kitchen cabinet ends. There's a washing machine, and then they've piped it over to the sink. Have you ever seen that? I've seen it a bunch.
We had one of those in our house in college. You just wheel the thing off.
That
for the
sounds
night.
like a college thing.
Yeah. Well, I went to a conference probably 15 years ago in Chicago, and I think it might have been Greg Mutz of Omni who was on stage, and I think he said the difference when they're buying a deal, the difference between Class B and Class A is in-unit laundry. That's like their main thing, that whether it's granted or not, it was just in-unit laundry.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're dealing with a different, I don't know if to say demographic, tenant type. I mean, some people just, they're not willing to go to a laundry room, right? They're like, no, I'm not going to live somewhere where I don't have a washer and dryer. I couldn't imagine living without a washer and dryer. I mean, that would be a hassle to have to take it somewhere every day.
Well, I could see it in Chicago. Like when I lived in New York just a few years ago, I didn't have washer dryer, but I just dropped a bag of laundry off of my doorman and sent it out, and it came back for $5, and it was washed and folded.
That's even
ready
better
to go.
than
And we had a laundry room in the basement, but I'm like, for $5, I'm like, you can't beat. I mean, but a lot of places don't have that. Obviously, cities like New York, Chicago, Boston.
Well, a lot of people can't afford that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's probably a few days
I don't know.
laundry.
I mean, at $5, I think it was cheaper than my water and detergent bill at that point.
Look, I mean, it's. I think now it's like $1.50 a pound, or maybe.
That's why I wear nothing but G-strings.
That's it, man. That's it. G-strings and half tops.
How many outfits is a pound? I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're selling a 105 unit project-based Section 8 deal. No laundry in the units, no laundry in the building. And I'm thinking, I mean, I was just thinking, like, when I potty train my kids, how horrible that would be to not have laundry in your unit.
Throw it in right away.
I mean, what are you doing? You're throwing it into a bag and letting it sit in your unit? Oh, yeah, I guess you go.
Using the sink, man.
Well, I mean,
bathtub.
People still say laundry mats are a great investment. I mean, and kind of like the point, but it's like,
I don't see how that, I mean, I see that as a dwindling investment. I mean, because you're right. I mean, it is only the older properties that have that, and slowly they're getting converted.
Yeah.
I would see, and I don't know. I mean, maybe like you said, New York, places like that, that's more common.
Yeah.
But I could see that being less and less common.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when our washing machine went out, and it was early on in my marriage, so I wasn't as smart as I am now. It went out, and I think I waited like 3 or 4 weeks before buying a new one, because I kept saying, "Oh, let's wait; it'll be on sale or whatever." I can't remember the reason, but I waited. And this is when our kids were young. I remember I got 6 kids.
Right.
And my wife was taking the kids to a laundromat, and she would have to go sit in there with the kids and do laundry. And she was like, I don't
know how you made it, man. I don't know how you made it.
I know. And that was only for a few weeks, right? I mean, I just no way. I guess luckily I didn't have to do that.
What other, besides laundry, what other amenities are you guys seeing? One of the things that we're seeing, we actually were just talking about this today, is like the self-serve concession stands, like not even just the vending machines, but like the ones you scan yourself and check out. It's kind of a revenue sharing. So we're seeing more and more of that pop up.
Like what kind of vending?
Are you guys seeing other things like, that has kind of like a revenue sharing concept or anything besides laundry?
What kind of vending are you talking about though?
It's literally, it almost looks like a small kiosk. Like they think of like when you walk through the airport, like, and you see like one of the ones that's, you don't even walk into the store, right? It's just like a wall and it has stuff on it. And you just like, it's almost like self-scan. There's nobody there. You just go over, you scan it. So pick your
It
soda,
has like
your
snacks
chip.
and drinks and stuff.
Yeah. And you just scan
I've never
it.
seen that in an apartment.
Yeah. We're seeing it more and more. I've been through, I was through 3 apartments today. I was walking through tour and they all had it. And we're actually doing a small development and we were talking about putting it, we were just looking at it today, talking about putting that in. So I just didn't know if you guys had seen that in your market or not.
No,
It's
that's
usually
not
a
bad
little
idea.
nicer.
Although it's just,
Not
I would
nicer
think there's
product.
Yeah, I would imagine.
like what?
Yeah, I said it's usually a nicer product. Your Class A's, that like has like a co-working area, and then they'll put
I would
that
just
down
think there's
there.
not
so, like,
enough foot traffic because like usually those are in high foot traffic areas. And an apartment, I mean, even if you got 300 units, that's only 300. Well, let's say 2 people live in each unit, which isn't going to happen. But let's say average, that's 600 people going by every day. How many times are they really going to need anything?
I just saw it in 100 and a nice. It was Class A complex, 120 unit Class A complex.
Was it more urban, like where people have to walk past it instead of drive past it?
No. It's inside the. I mean, you would not go there unless you lived in the apartment. Like it's inside the
But
apartment.
what I'm saying is, is it urban, like where each tenant walks by it? It's not like most properties we sell are garden style, and so you're driving past the
correct,
office.
yeah.
You're not even walking through.
Right at the base of the elevator bank.
Okay.
For the building. So yes, it's
Elevator,
centralized.
that makes sense. If it has an elevator, then yeah.
Yeah.
We're seeing it, and I've seen this a couple people, and it. What's funny is this was tried years ago, and it didn't work, and people hated it. And it's coming back is bulk internet. Going in and I've got one client that he's going in and he's paying for the infrastructure himself, like paying for the fiber optic to get ran and for all that stuff. And let's say, I can't remember the exact numbers, but he's paying $10 per unit to have high speed internet. And he's turning around charging them $40 because if they go to the cable provider, it's $75.
Yeah.
And he's making it mandatory. You have to do it. And making a killing on it, right? And now there's others that are having the cable company or the internet company put in the infrastructure. They're doing it, and so they're paying a higher per rate, but less up front. But I remember, 10 years ago, there were people that tried that, and it was hard to sell a property and they had it because they couldn't make any money doing it. And so it's interesting to see it come back around now and it work.
Yeah, we're seeing that more and more. I've talked to more and more people. They're putting it in. And just it's on Wi-Fi, right?
And you can get throughout the whole property.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have that advantage. You can go to the co-working space, whatever, and it's your Wi-Fi, right? Like it's like I'm not sure of how it's all working, but yeah, we're seeing more and more that they buy a bulk package. Now you're usually paying per unit, even if it's vacant, right? So you might be paying. I think I heard $30 a month or $40 a month, but you're reselling it at $60. Or something of that nature, but then you have to absorb the vacancy that goes along with it as well too.
But if it's a clean property, it's stable. It makes sense.
Yeah,
I've seen that one. We've got one management company here that's really good about just other fees, other stuff, like their other income on these properties. Every time we sell one, they're like, how's the other income so high? And she's just really good about charging other fees. They have lawn or valet trash fee. They have a convenience fee. They call it a convenience fee, and it's essentially like garbage cost or something like that. They have all these fees built in, and people pay it. And and they're raking it in, and it's stuff that you would normally not even charge for, but they call it a convenience fee, and so people are okay with it.
I love it. That's what the hotels do, right? For your convenience, we're charging you $35 a night.
Yeah, resort fees
on top of your rate.
What the heck is my room charge? Like, is that not the resort fee?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're going to Mexico in 2 weeks, and I saw it on there. It was like per night resort fee. I was like,
resort
seriously?
fee. I love the resort fee. You gotta love that.
Yeah.
We see amenity fees. I saw technology fees on another income. So you got a technology fee.
Yeah.
What was that for?
That included internet and then all these smart, like smart thermostat, things of that nature. But it's already in there. So it's like, how about if I don't want this?
Right.
So to your point,
there's no option.
So if you were renting an apartment, would you rather see what's going to attract you more? Okay, $1,700 a month, but you're going to get hit with $200 of fees, or $1,900 a month.
Man, I think it's I think it's the lower rent works. I mean, I think
Get
it
you
does.
in the
Now,
door.
I would look at it as the total package, but that's how I think. But I think it's the lower rent. You hit them with the fees.
It's the Spirit airline model. I mean, you get charged every time you use the bathroom. I mean, it's great.
That's why the
So-
government's cracking down on that stuff too. You know, like credit card fees and all these surcharges and whatnot. But it works. You know, I had a client run a specials on a property one time, and he had and I don't remember the exact numbers, but generally speaking, it was you can move in and your first month or your first full month was $99, right? So it's like, say you have an apartment and it's normally $600, your first full month would be $99, so you save $500, right? Or you could get a flat screen TV for signing a lease, and the flat screen TV costs like $200, right? But he said 90% of the people picked the flat screen TV instead of the $99 a month because it was something they could pick up and take.
Yeah.
And I was like, they could buy 2 TVs, 3 TVs, depending on their unit. And he goes, I know. And what he would do is he would take these boxes of flat screen TVs. He wouldn't put the TVs in, but the boxes, he'd stack them in the office on like where it was like a display, and then one TV in the front of it just so people would see it. And people come in, they're like, I want that. And they would lease apartments. And I was like, that's genius.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, there's some places in Chicago. One in particular that I went to was called Nema in the South Loop, and just the amenity. I mean, the amenity deck. I would never leave that building.
Yeah.
I mean, they had,
Nice.
you know, they had beer on tap. They had, like in certain areas, they had like places where you could get cappuccinos and latte, whatever you want. They have on-site 7-day-a-week childcare. Basically,
Really?
yeah. Like you drop your kid. I mean, and it's all on the same level. They have like huge office spaces like that you could rent out if you needed to have an office meeting with all the Wi-Fi and everything included. Different individual offices. Pilates rooms. I mean, they had a boxing ring. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, but you're paying $5,000 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath without parking. So, I mean,
Yeah.
but when you start saying, you know, the gym memberships downtown, I mean, it is a beautiful gym. I mean, it rivaled like East Bank Club downtown Chicago. So it's like you're, you know, which is probably $350 a month for that. Right. So you start kind of picking that all off. You know, the amenities get the people in the door to sign the lease. And then most of the people don't ever use 75, 80% of them. Right.
What's the must-see amenities? Like, what are the must-have amenities right now? And what's the craziest amenities you guys have seen?
I mean, if it's a new property, you've got to have a cool resort pool area. I mean, your pool area has got to be just on point.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think you can have a new nice property without it.
Are you seeing that in Chicago? Because I would say pools are, like, we see some nice properties have no pools here. New
You don't have
Class
a pool
A properties.
downtown, you're losing. Every place
Really?
downtown has a pool with cabana, like South Beach cabana style.
Which I'm surprised
Or
that in
2 months
Chicago
out of the year,
because,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
exactly.
gonna say Chicago is like, yeah,
right.
it's
15 minutes.
I mean,
All right. You know, summer's over. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big draw.
I was gonna say our must-have right now is pet amenities.
Yeah.
So you gotta allow
like
pet.
dog runs.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, if you don't
if
have
you've
a
got a
good,
Class A property, I mean, so many of those people have pets now, and if you don't cater to that, you're missing out.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is.
Our market statistics are 65% of Class A renters have pets.
But the good thing is, if they have a pet, you charge the pet deposit, the pet rent, and all
Right,
that.
right.
People will pay without it. I mean, they don't
It's
care. They're like,
ridiculous, man. I would never
I mean,
pay that.
they'll pay it.
All right, what's the craziest amenities you've seen?
I mean, I saw a whole golf simulator bar, like straight up Top Golf in the unit style. huge,
In the unit?
two huge bays, full bar. You know, that was
On the property, not in the unit, right?
no,
As you-
yeah, in the property. That was one
Okay.
of, and that actually was at NEMA too. It was one of the like levels you could go to. But you know, getting back to Greg Multifamily, he said the same thing. He pointed out there's a company, Feifeld and Company, that develops high rises, and they both do high rises in Chicago. And he goes, and they were talking about the amenity race, and he was like, you know what, Feifeld's out there. I see him. I mean, he goes, he has a dog washing service that gives the dog a happy ending. And his, you know, I mean,
Hey,
it's just,
like I said, this pet owners, they love their pets.
that's it, man. That's it. They want other people to love them. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you? I mean, you seeing some crazy stuff in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, we we're working on a building, and they did a really good job. So there's the way the building is laid out. It was a conversion.
Yeah.
There's some dead space on each floor. So every floor in this building has a unique amenity space. So one floor, full golf simulator.
Yeah.
Another floor, full band room, drums, everything like set up. You know, podcasting room.
Yeah. That's,
you know, another.
That.
So every single floor just had something different. I mean, it was really cool and it was done well. And honestly, all but the band room, I think gets a lot of use. The band room, you know, I don't know how much use that was getting. So
there had to have been somebody who was involved in the decision making on that, like band stuff, like music, because that's not one I would see that would be appealed to the masses.
No.
The podcast, yeah, I think that's becoming pretty common. I see that quite a bit.
We're putting a podcast development I'm talking about where I convinced them to put a podcast room. So I'm hoping in like maybe in the October version of this, I'll be
nice
recording from the podcast room at the new apartment building. So
yeah, I mean, you guys are selling a lot nicer deals than we're selling. I mean, we do a lot of affordable housing, a lot of low income housing tax credit deals. The amenities get, you know, they're pretty.
Those have safe rooms though, don't they?
Pretty basic. Safe rooms? No.
Yeah.
No, not
like
the
panic rooms.
Oh, the building I was just talking to you about too. It has a full basketball court on the roof, but in the wintertime they turn it into an ice skating rink.
Nice. That's pretty. That
should be what's in Chicago. I mean, come on,
that's a nice.
Yeah, I could see that in Chicago.
Yeah, that's a
you
nice.
You can get 6 months a year on that ice skating rink.
That's a nice touch, man. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. We have one it hasn't been built yet. It's proposed. They're working on it, and I thought this was funny. What are those things called that like when you're younger, kids have those bikes, but they don't have pedals on them.
Balance bike.
Is it balance bike where they just go up and down hills like that?
Yeah. Oh, pump bikes too.
That's what it is. Pump bikes.
Yeah.
So they're doing a pump bike track, and I was like, why? And I had to think. I was like, why in the world are they doing that? And me and another friend of mine he's an apartment developer. We're like, why would they do that? I was like, man, the only thing I can think of is they had some extra land and they needed to fill that space. And then, because we were talking about this, we're about to go to lunch with the guy that's doing it. And then when we got to lunch, I said, all right, I got to ask, why the pump bike track? I said, man, you know, we had this extra land that we just couldn't figure out what to do with. I was like, all right, I get it. Because I was like, who's really going to use that? But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of different. Kind of maybe cool, I guess. Like that.
We sold one near a river. It had it was cool. It had a kayaking like docks station, which was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially I like ones on the river. You know, we don't have a lot of that in Oklahoma City, but in Dallas, I go down there quite a bit. They've got a lot of these big master plan communities where they have these huge water features, and they'll have, you know, 5 or 6 like new Class A apartments built around it, and they have a lot of that where, you know, you can pull up and put like, you know, kayaks and paddle boards or paddle boats and stuff like that. No, I think those look cool. I mean, those are nice.
Yeah.
Good water features.
Yeah, the amenity race. Although we're seeing them
somewhere.
We're seeing amenities get more and more use now. I agree with you. Like back in the day, I remember when I lived in apartments in DC, like I'd go in and get wowed by the amenities and never use them.
Yeah.
But nowadays we're actually seeing like the co-working areas, the stuff like that kind of get a lot more use. In kind of
well, especially
more
people. people work from home now. I mean, so if you got
Yeah.
stuff like the podcast, I guarantee you that gets used in
Yeah.
properties. Co-working space gets used. Even just like clubhouses that have like pool tables and hangout areas. I mean, I think that stuff gets used a lot more now, because you're right. I remember it used to be apartments would have a gym, right, and their gym would have like one
Right.
like piece of equipment that had like
Stationary
things,
bike.
and it would have like a
The one with the
stationary
fan.
bike. Yeah, and then you ask the manager, and they're like, no, nobody ever uses
Right.
it. But now you're right. People do use those amenities. I think
we're
it's just
we're seeing
generational
gyms
difference.
get more and more, and I mean more thoughtful design. A lot of like we've seen a couple that combine an indoor outdoor space. So there's like they can open the garage doors in the gym. You can go right outside. There's the AstroTurf and push a sled or do some wall balls or things of that nature, which
Like
are kind
the
of
I've seen some
Pelotons,
gyms in
yeah.
apartments that are pretty impressive. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
like this is a nice gym.
We're selling 2 senior Section 8 deals that have resale shops in them. It's a pretty sexy amenity. And beauty.
Dude, with senior deals, I think you got to have like an
beautiful.
STD like clinic in there too, is right? Like I mean that's like the highest level of STDs, the senior community.
Yeah.
Was
That's down in
Yeah.
Florida, right?
no, I've sold a couple of senior deals where the people that ran them have told me some stories. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Hey, good for them.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm not upset. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Give me something to look forward to.
They're looking out there like, hey, look, if I've got 10, 15 years to live, I'm gonna have some fun.
Right.
Oh, well, that might be a good way to wrap up. I think we kind of turned this into an amenity podcast, and I don't know what we'll call the end of that, but it's definitely an after hours one.
Yep.
So
Yep. Happy ending.
Now, Brent. Happy ending. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to say what I was about to say now, because that's like perfect ending.
what do you got? You got something, Dirk?
It wasn't fun. It was business. But I was going to say, so we were talking about entity sales. I don't know if I told you this, but so recently, because entity sales for most purposes is intended to go around, not get it reassessed, and not have all the
Right.
just to keep it low key, right? In Oklahoma, one of my clients they had an entity sale. It got reassessed, right? The county said, hey, look, we know it was a sale. You got a new mortgage, this or that, whatever reasons. And they said, it's getting reassessed. They fought it. And they fought it at the county, got denied. Or they fought it with the assessor, got denied. They fought at the Board of Adjustment, got denied. They took it to district court. It got denied. They took it to the state Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court upheld that an entity sale does not trigger the reassessment. It said very clearly, they said the Constitution reads that when a property's deed transfers, essentially says when a fee simple sale occurs, it will get reassessed. An entity sale is not selling the real property. It's just a partnership change selling personal property. The entity or the people that own the entity don't own the property. The entity owns the property. So unless the entity unless it's sold, it's not a sale. That's a huge deal.
It's
And I think other
state-specific.
states.
Well, it's state specific.
No, it is.
Yeah, depending
But
on
I
how the
think-
state constitution is written, because we deal with a lot of that, and then you can get into the situations as does it follow the federal law, and if it's a single member, is it disregarded? Things of
Yeah.
that nature. But there's
And
definitely
that's
some new.
to be
I actually think
determined how much
might
of that
be a
comes
good.
out.
Yeah, maybe not as fun as this amenity podcast, but maybe tax reassessments on the next podcast.
Yeah.
Bring your coffee.
Yeah.
So,
No, it can be worth. Hey, look, I could invite the attorney on that
yeah.
argued that case.
School
because-
boards they're hiring like forensic accountants to figure out if they did that so they can get their tax.
Well, and that's the downside, because look, as us as real estate professionals, we're looking at ways like, hey, how can we maximize the value? How can we maximize the returns and all that? But there's also a flip side of that, right? I mean, it does have an impact on revenue for the counties, and
Capital
revenue for the
gains.
schools, and yeah,
Right.
and so I mean, there's capital gains.
I don't think so much capital gain, just the reassessment on the tax base.
Yeah. And
right?
Well,
and
how would the
and
capital
that
gains
does,
work if you're buying the entity?
Well, your
You can still
basis
do a
is still the
1031.
same, and you can do an adjustment for inside and outside basis. So even if
Yeah.
your basis was low and you inherited the basis, you
Yeah,
can adjust the inside.
yeah, we
and out-
had guys do that where they didn't record it, so they didn't they didn't have, which I don't
No,
know.
you can still even if you don't do it and you don't record it, you can still file. Your accountant can file because we've dealt with this, right? Like let's just say let's say you've owned a property for 40 years and you depreciated it down to zero.
Yeah.
Right. So your basis in the property zero. You sell the entity and you sell it for $100 million. The buyer can then file with their accountant to adjust the inside and the outside basis. I actually know the IRS. I actually did this. There's an IRS number on it, and I'll have to look it up. Actually, I'll try to bring our accountant on who's worked on that stuff, and then they can adjust it and they can reset their basis to 100 million for what they paid for.
Got it. Okay.
But that's kind of a separate and distinct from the assessed value.
Yeah,
which is what
Well, see,
you're trying to
what
avoid
we've
that.
done, because I've done a couple of transactions or a few where the buyer and seller did a 1031 and they did an entity sale. And I've had attorneys say before, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that because you got to buy you got to buy your relinquished property in the same entity, but you do a drop and swap, and you can still do that. And it
as long as it's
meets
a
all the
single
criteria.
member and if it's single member and it's disregarded, the IRS then treats it's disregarded and it rolls up to the next owner. And if that owner is the same, whether that's an entity or an individual, then it's totally valid. So that's how they get around that. Yeah. We've done a number of those in drop and swaps or in straight entity transactions where we preserve the 1031.
I don't think it has to just be a disregarded entity because I've had some where there's partners.
Well, if there's the way that the partners usually do, there's usually a holdco, right? If there's multiple partners, or you can do it, you can do a drop down into a tick. Yeah, this is a whole podcast we can kind of get into on its own.
Right.
There's actually different ways to do it. You can drop it down into a tick and then transfer out the tick membership, or if you're in an entity, if it's a single member, and remember that single member could be another LLC, right? So we could all form a partnership that could be holdco. Holdco could be the sole member of 123 Main Street. We can sell 123 Main Street and as holdco still 1031 into a different property.
And in all reality, like if you're going into a deal and you're sophisticated real estate investors, it's probably a smart idea to do something like that. That way you have options.
Correct. We're just selling a deal right now. Actually, the Dirk, the buyer, we've talked about it before, but they're in a tick. And everybody's doing a 1031, so we've been managing the 1031, the tick in and out. So it's kind of been interesting. But actually, tax-free assessments and 1031 transactions. I think it'd be good. That'd be a good podcast, and we can grab a couple of tax attorneys or accountants, and we can kind of go through that. Especially, some of the, with the changes in the IRS code and some of the bonus depreciation we're talking about. And I know, Dirk, we talked about that as doing a podcast on some of the tax implications of the things that are coming out.
Sure.
So
I did a video and a white paper about it, about the whole tax thing. I think it's incredible. And Reid, you mentioned this in the beginning. It's starting to drive a lot of interest into deals now again. And I agree. I think it is. I think people are, I look at, even me personally, because we're real estate professionals. I looked at look, let's say I'm going to take them and make a number up. Let's say I'm going to take, and pay the IRS $300,000, or am I going to put $300,000 down on the property, right? And
especially if you do a cost seg.
Yeah.
Do a cost seg, accelerated depreciation.
100%.
Yeah. And originally, and I kind of realized this recently, because I told my wife, and she got all excited about it. I said, look, we could buy a vacation property, like a vacation rental.
Right.
And then I started doing the research, and it says, no, vacation rentals, because they're less than 7 days rentals, they don't qualify for the same, unless there's always these
100
caveats.
days, right?
Now, unless you materially participate in the management of the property.
So she has to do that.
And so that just means you got to take care of the leasing and
cleaning,
coordinate things and stuff like that. Like, you don't have to clean it yourself. You just got to coordinate it. Basically manage it. And I'm like, all right, I'm about to get me a place in, somewhere along Destin or Orange Beach or something like that. Maybe get something in Cabo, each year.
Maybe before you do that, let's get the tax attorney on.
I probably should. It wouldn't be the first time I did something and realized after the fact.
Oh, yeah.
That didn't work like
Yeah,
that.
My first LP investment, I thought that I was going to get the same as a GP. As far as the taxes, bonus depreciation. I was like, sweet. My accountant's like, you have the LP box checked in your K1, not the GP. I was like, oh, okay.
See, I thought we talked about this. I thought you could do that.
You can only use it to offset other capital gains, but you cannot use it, the real estate professional status, with LP depreciation if you're not materially participating in the deal.
All right.
That's
Well,
another podcast.
Let's
end
get
it on
the
the happy
accountants
ending.
and the attorneys on there, and we'll call this the true happy ending of this topic.
That works.
All right, guys.
All right, we'll see y'all next time, guys.